like to first hope everybody's feeling well, everybody's family is safe and healthy, and just that you're working your way through this pandemic and others and all the other stuff. So I just want to give you a quick rundown on how we got here. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that have done a lot of amazing stuff, in the Giant organization to get us to this point. We came back from Indianapolis, and our head of senior vice president of medical services, Ronnie Barnes, came to me 3 times that first week, and the third time he looked at me, he said, "Dave, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really bad." So I walked out of my office, went to my director of college scouting, Chris Pettit, told him to get together with the director of football data and innovation, Ty Siam, and I said, get with him, and this draft is going to happen remotely. That's what we have to plan for. And I don't want to do anything different. I don't want us to prepare any different. After that conversation, I went down to Joe's office with Ronnie in tow, of course, and told Joe, you're not going to see your players until August. So get with Ty and get with your coaching staff, and everybody went to work. And it was Justin Warren was in charge of our IT department, did a great job, and that allowed us all to continue to do our jobs. Obviously in a different settings, different pace, in a different way, but it still allowed us to do our jobs. And then when then in the spring we decided to go to the stadium. The protocols were coming down, the rules were coming in as to what we could and could not do. I really thought it was critical that Joe and his staff, as a new staff, have the ability to look at players in the eye all day long. And, so we went over to the stadium, took a look, and Victor McLaughlin, our director of buildings, just did a fantastic job planning everything out. So basically, we're breaking camp tomorrow, but we're able to have as normal a training camp as you could have. Team meetings, unit meetings, people face-to-face. The one thing that the Zoom and all that and working remotely taught me is what you lose by not being able to have those drive-by conversations, and how much more difficult the communication piece. Well, now us being in the stadium allows me and Joe and Kevin Abrams and Timmy McDonald and Ronnie Barnes and anybody else to have those drive-bys that really improve the workflow and accelerate the pace at which you're able to work. So we've had a lot of people that have done a great job, and Casey Jones, the great basketball player and coach for the Celtics, used to say about him, you give him lemons, he makes lemonade. And that's what we've done. And it's been a great organizational effort. Other people behind the scenes, Bill Heller and Christine Prokops, have been huge for us. And again, ownership giving us the ability to do these things, to operate this way in as close to a normal setting as possible, has really put us in a good position. Okay, if anybody's still awake, I'm ready to take questions.
Dan Duggan.
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
Good, Dan. How are you, kid?
Good. No sense easing in, I guess. You had 2 players arrested this offseason, and including DeAndre Baker, obviously facing, serious charges. I'm just curious, based on your emphasis on, culture and character, what's your reaction to those arrests?
Well, obviously, Dan, it's disappointing. Okay, and it's not. There was nothing in their background, nothing in Aldrich's background, nothing in DeAndre's background that would suggest these things would happen. Okay, so it's disappointing on a variety of levels, and it hurts us because they're 2 talented players as well. It's disappointing, and I guess what it teaches us all is nothing's 100%. Except death and taxes. So, it was, like I said, it's disappointing. Dan, I'd be a liar if I said anything less. I mean, Aldrich was a Pro Bowl kicker 2 years ago. DeAndre was a first-round pick. I know all that. And it's disappointing, but it's life.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
Good, Paul. How you doing?
Good, good. This is so unprecedented for everybody, even someone like you who's been through it so much. Do you think there will be a competitive disadvantage at all? You guys not having fans, some teams having fans, and as a corollary to that, with a young team that you have, do you think this is going to be a big disadvantage going through this, or maybe with a young coach and a young team, in some way it can be an advantage?
I think that, Joe and the guys are doing such a great job of building the team concept. I know that they're going to have to bring their own energy. There's not, for us, we're not going to have fans initially. When we go to Dallas, they are going to have fans. I mean, I just think you have to you can't look at it as, oh, woe is me. I think you've got to figure out a way to turn it into an advantage. And I think that, us not having that, it is what it is, Paul. You can't, when you get up in the morning and you want to play golf, if it's raining, you play golf. You just don't, it's right. So I think more than anything else, it's certainly a challenge. But I think it's one that Joe and his staff and the players are up for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Art.
Hey, Dave. Obviously, you go into this weekend having a lot of decisions that have been, evaluated in such a short window. I'm curious, how do you balance the idea of projecting a lot of the young players that you have on the roster versus being able to kind of put together a team that Joe and his staff can get right out of the gates and compete in week one?
Well, we're a young developing team. That's all there is to it. I mean, we've had, with the way Joe has run practice, you guys have seen it. He has what he calls his two-spot when he's got teamwork on both fields. These guys have gotten a ton of reps. And, as we finish up, there's plenty of film available to legitimately evaluate all these guys. So I think that, it's everybody's in the same boat, to a certain degree with their young players. And we feel good about, the work these kids have put in. And I think we're going to be fine. I mean, it's a challenge out. There's no doubt about it. But the young guys, the one thing that happened is, Joe and the guys did a great job with OTAs, building, believe it or not, building a team looking at 90 faces on a screen. They really did. And we were really pleased with the conditioning that these players came here in. They were really in good shape. And which enabled them, I tell young kids all the time, the best favor they can do themselves when they go to training camp is be in great shape, because that will allow them to learn in meetings and study at night rather than going to sleep. And these kids did that. So we got a lot of quality work. Joe and the guys put them through the paces, got a lot of quality snaps. And I think that when we sit down on Friday, we're going to, after the scrimmage, we're going to be able to really look at each other. And the one thing we talked about consistently is at the 53, I said, we have to make informed decisions. You can't do guesswork on this side. You know that. So, that was a big emphasis. We want to make informed decisions, and I truly believe we'll be able to.
Just a quick follow-up. You mentioned Joe's practices. You've been at a lot of training camp practices through your career. I'm just curious, what's your impression of a Joe Judge training practice? What have you seen? What have you liked? And carried through.
What you see is everybody's working. It's funny. A little known secret. 1,000,000 years ago, in my first Giants life, excuse me, we had a little scouting exchange with the Patriots. So I went to the Patriots camp for 3 days, and Scott Pioli came up to our camp in Albany, stayed for 3 days, and so I got a little bit of an inside view to what a Patriot practice looked like. And that's what we've had here. I mean, you guys have seen it when, Special teams is working. If it's a return or a cover, something the big guys aren't involved with, you see they're busy. They're overdoing things. There are times there'll be in individuals, and Joe will have a couple of players working with the special teams as gunners or as vices or whatever. So people are busy. People are busy. No one's standing around hanging out. And the other thing that you see is the attention to detail. Attention to detail. We have those. There are some drills where you see 5 coaches standing there. They're all coaching something. They're coaching a point. And that attention to detail is huge.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome, Matt.
Ryan.
Hey, Dave, I want to follow up there on Dan's question. You said there was nothing in DeAndre or Aldrich's background that suggested this might happen, but Aldrich had an arrest in college, and DeAndre, there were rumors before the draft about his commitment. So I'm just curious, when something like this does happen, do you go back and evaluate the scouting process with your personnel department and say, what we miss here? And will you keep DeAndre on the team? His court date is until January. Will you keep him on the team till that's resolved?
Well, you're certainly, you always debrief. You always are gonna go back. All right. If there was something in Aldrich's background from college, frankly, I didn't know because I wasn't here. Okay. If did we thoroughly, investigate DeAndre's background? Absolutely. There's nothing there that we didn't know. There's nothing there we didn't know. So, but of course you always go back. It's no different. It's no different than a coach going back and, after, you go, anybody, after something doesn't go right, you're going to debrief. You're going to write an article, Ryan, and it's not going to be what you're going to look at it and I really don't like that. So you're going to go write it again. Well, it's the same thing. So, we did that. Of course we debriefed, and because you always want to get better, right? So.
Understood. The second part of that, do you plan to keep DeAndre on until the legal issue is resolved?
We're still in conversations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Pat Leonard.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, Pat. How you doing?
Doing very well.
Good.
At a macro level, when you first came in as GM, what was your plan for the secondary specifically?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, how were you planning on building the secondary?
Well, it doesn't make it, obviously your plan to build depends upon, for me as an incoming GM, your plan to build first of all, you're going to build the football team. You start from there. What's your philosophy? Then what you do is you work your way through your position groups. Of course, every position group's in a different state. So it's not like there's any position group that, you don't have to look at. What you have to do is when you're building a team, when you're doing this, Pat, you can't put pressure on yourself that I have to do this now. I have to get that now, because what happens is you'll make mistakes. You'll reach, you'll overvalue. You can't be in a rush to do this. So where we are now with the secondary, all right, I'm very happy with our safety group. Our safeties are strong, and unfortunately, X got hurt, but, we fixed that with Logan, and we're still building corners. We're still building that part of the back end. And, it all works as a unit, in terms of, you'll have better coverage if your front end is better rushing the passer. It all works together, and we're working on building it every day. We don't ever sit back and say, okay, we're done. O-line, we're done. You can't do that, because as soon as you think you are, you're going to have an injury, and now what? So, there's no there's no me walking in the door saying, okay, the secondary will be done by the end of next year. The O-line is going to be done this year. The quarterback's going to be, you know what I'm saying, Pat? You can't operate that way because you'll overvalue players and you'll miss out on players. Again, I've been saying it since I walked in the door. I've been saying it down. I said it down in Carolina. It's about value. It's about where you are, how you value a player in the draft, as a free agent. As an unrestricted free agent, and then as your free agent. It's how you value those guys. And if you don't if you put the wrong value on them, you will make mistakes.
A quick follow-up on DeAndre. I know you said you're still having conversations. The longer he lingers on the roster, the more it doesn't look like there is a zero-tolerance policy for the kind of thing that he's accused of doing. I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying, why not just set a precedent that, this type of shocking alleged behaviors can't be tolerated?
Well, Pat, that's fair. That's a fair question. And all I can say to that, in life, there's timing that's involved. In life, there's timing. That's and that's how I'll respond to that. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Lombardo.
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
Good, Matt. How are you?
Good. I remember about this time last year, you said that you would know whether you guys made progress when you walked off the field week 17. I'm curious what the benchmarks are for Daniel Jones that at the end of week 17 this year that you can look around and say, okay, this kid has checked the boxes. We feel really comfortable and confident in him moving forward. So kind of what are the things you want to and need to see from Daniel this year?
Well, I'll say this, Matt. I'm comfortable and confident with him right now. Okay, just for what that's worth.
Sure.
Obviously, it's how he plays. What kind of a year he has, how successful he is in running. Again, it's his third offense in 3 years, by the way. Running in the team, how he gets, how he handles the leadership piece. It's all those things, and obviously how well he plays. I can say this very comfortably, Matt. The only thing that it was a little frustrating last year with the turnovers, with the fumbles. He had a solid rookie year, did things that no other rookie quarterback has ever done, and for some reason, I just feel like the fumbles have overshadowed all that stuff. So. He showed he can bring us from behind to win a game. He showed he can make big throws in an overtime period. This kid accomplished a lot last year. So I'm not going to I would never put a win-loss thing on it. It really is all about, for me, it's all about Daniel improving and improving in all areas, which I'm confident he will.
As a quick follow-up there, you mentioned this is his third offense in 2 seasons. What kind of a struggle is that for a quarterback to undertake?
I think it all depends upon, so now he's in his third one. I think it all depends. There's a couple things. Number one, it depends upon the coaches that are working with him. Okay, how they can, how they make it work for him, and obviously it's going to, it depends upon him how hard he's going to work at it. We all know Daniel's going to work his tail off. That's not an issue. And he's picking it up. Yesterday I thought he had a really nice day at the office, and he's getting there. Everybody's got to remember, I always go back to kid comes out, great high school football player, goes to college. How many of them are great immediately? It takes them all time. And unfortunately, we're not patient. But, Daniel's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's going to be a fine NFL quarterback.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Patty.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Hey, Patty, how's it going?
Going well. I
Good.
wanted to go back to something you said earlier about, the roster building process. Obviously, this year you don't have the benefit of seeing film from preseason games to look at and do scouting. You also have the challenges of a potential cap dropping next year. I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about that because, obviously that's going to affect your job.
But, the what's going to happen, Patty, what's going to happen this year is when the wire comes out Saturday night and it's like everybody's running around, it's almost like you're going to be drafting based off their call. If it's a rookie or a guy who came out in 19 and got hurt in training camp and didn't practice, you're going to be basing it off college tape. That's what you're going to do. Obviously, with everybody else who's got time in the league, you're going back. So if there's a guy who got drafted in 18 or 19, and they played preseason but have never played varsity football, you've got video, NFL film to look at, but obviously it's very, very different. And it's you're going to have to this year, especially with the rookies, you're going to have to really rely on your college stuff. And we still have that tape's still available, Patty. We still have it. So, that's what we will be doing. But I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, are you going to have to put more of a emphasis on the guys you have now, on whom you have tape, and can you see sort of like a shift in philosophy to where instead of going out on the waiver wire, you're going to explore your own guys first?
I think it's very legit. It's funny. Funny you bring that up. I was talking to Pat Hanlon, and really and truly, because of the protocols that are going to be in place during the season, your immediate help is going to be the practice squad guys. Because if you anybody you bring into whether it's a waiver, a trade, a claim, it's taking someone off a practice squad, somebody else's practice squad, or bringing in a street free agent, it's going to require time. They're in there. You can touch them, but they can't come in your building. They can't practice. So the practice squads are going to be really important, how you set those up. And because those guys are going to be your immediate help. And so people would say, well, have your workout, bring people in on Friday and start the testing protocol so that you have them ready for the week. Well, you don't know what's going to happen that weekend. You don't know what position you're going to need. There may be guys out there you want to work out that you can do that anyhow, But at the end of the day, you're really going to have to really be very intentional about your practice squad. And the league has given us that flexibility because they're allowing us 6 veterans on the practice squad. They're allowing 4 what they call practice squad exception players, and those are guys that have some NFL experience, varsity experience, and you're allowed 4 of those. So 10 of the 16 could be guys with NFL snaps under their belt. Excuse me. So, but that's where your immediate help is going to come from, Patty, because anybody you get any other way, there's going to be a testing cadence. The protocols, testing cadence, physicals, it's going to be a process.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dave.
does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jordan.
Hey, Dave. Glad you're doing well.
It's not good, Jordan. How you doing, kid? Look like you're getting ready to go get out of the house and play golf.
Maybe later.
There you go.
You guys won 5 games the first year. You won 4 games last year. You've had an opportunity, at least the last 2 weeks, to kind of really see, what you have this year. What, from a big picture perspective, gives you confidence that this organization and the franchise is moving in the right direction?
Well, I think we've had 3 years of roster development, and I think we have brought in a number of players that are going to help us, that are going to be part of this winning process. We've obviously we've had a change in coaches, and we've got a young developing team, and I think Joe and his staff are going to develop those players. So that's what gives me confidence. It gives me confidence that we have a quarterback, that we've got a heck of a running back, that we've got some nice pieces on defense. The O-line, we've got pieces. We're getting there. We're getting there, and I believe we're going to be competitive.
How close are you on that? I mean, you mentioned that when you first took the job, right? The offensive line and getting that right was a huge part of it. How close are you to being there in your eyes in that regard?
much the closest we've ever been, and I think that, and I feel like we've got the right guys. They just got to learn to play together, and they've got to grow up. I mean, we got puppies. You know, you got Andrew, who's never played an NFL snap. So it's at an important position, right? So we've got some youth, and they got to learn to play together. Those 5 guys got to learn to play in the glove. So it is talent-wise, I'm really pleased with the group.
We got time for 3 more. We got time for 3 more. Ralph, Slater, and Canterman. Ralph.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good, Ralph. How you doing, kid?
Good, thanks. You said you have a young developing team and you expect it to be competitive this year. 2 questions about that. One is, you basically turned over the entire roster in 3 years. In a lot of ways, this is the closest you've had to your team. Do you look at it that way too, that you finally have on the field what you've wanted from the beginning? And also, do you think that being competitive and developmental will actually translate to wins this year?
Well, first of all, it's not my team. It's the New York Giants football team, Ralph. Okay. There's a lot of people that have worked extremely hard to get the roster to this point. Kevin Abrams and Mark Kahns, Timmy McDonald, Chris Pettit, Kenny Sternfeld, and his gang. So a lot of people have worked very hard to get the roster to this point. And I think we've obviously got young players that are continuously developing. So Dalvin has gotten better every year. We're looking for Dexter to improve. You're looking for all those young kids to improve. We've also got some veterans that, have skins on the wall and can help those guys develop, help those guys become, team players. So, I just feel like, the roster is going to be, competitive, and you can, it's going to have the ability to win games. I'm not putting a number on it, but it's about, listen, you get out there, you put a team out there, and, they'll be the fighting Joe Judges, I have no doubt. And, it's going to it's going to go well.
I know you don't worry about your job, but do you think your bosses need to see win to, completely buy into everything that's going on?
That's a question for them, bro.
Okay. We'll get them tomorrow.
There you go.
Joe Slater.
Hey, Dave, circling back on Logan Ryan, you kind of hinted earlier that signing him solves a little bit of the issue with Xavier's injury. So do you guys see Logan as a free safety and as your starting free safety? Where do you see him? And a second part on him, how did the deal come together, and why did it kind of take so long for him to get him in the mix here?
Well, Daryl, it's more – how you doing, by the way?
Good. How you doing?
Good. It's more Logan's going to – one of the things you guys will see once we start playing games is, we're going to be pretty multi-dimensional on defense, okay? You're going to see a lot of stuff. And Logan fills a lot of roles, okay? It's at a point now where, what does being a starting player mean? It means probably playing 75, 80%, on defense. He'll be well up there. We see him as a fit in a lot of different roles. And, he had quite a year last year. You guys know that. And Tennessee used him, a little bit differently. And it certainly, gives you ideas about how to use him. So he'll be fine. And really, as far as getting the deal done, I've always believed that deals get done when they're supposed to get done. And once you get to talking, it takes two. And once the team starts talking to the agent of the player, and the player, if there's something there that tells you you're going to get something done, you work at it. And really and truly, Daryl, when you do deals, pretty quickly if there's something there. I mean, you've bought cars before. You walk into the car dealership and you know, they start giving you the runaround. You say, you know what, there's no deal here. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying? So it's really the same thing. I mean, it really is the same thing. When Kevin gets on the phone with an agent, so for example, I firmly believe I don't believe in the low ball, high ball game. I really don't believe in it. I believe in it. This is your value. I'm gonna, show you what I got. Show a fair starting offer. Because if you start off low ball and you started off the whole thing negative, right? And the whole point of it is getting to win, getting to yes, they call it. So I don't believe in that. So, and we tell the agent, listen, this is a fair, we can justify this offer. Now, if the agent comes back with a cock, and we tell them we don't believe in high balls, so the agent comes back with a cockamamie counter, then we know there's no deal there. You know, you go in and you want to buy a car for $40,000, and the guy tells you it's a $70,000 car, you walk out the door. It's really the same stuff. So, you know, when two parties get together, you start the back and forth, and you'll know pretty quickly if there's a deal to be done. And basically, that's what happened. You know, it really happened in, I don't know, 36 hours. I mean, it happened quick. Oh, yeah, it happened quick. So, you know, that's, you know, again, they get done when they're supposed to, and we're glad he's us. Glad he's here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Darren.
We got time for one more. Tom Canavan.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good, Thomas. How are you?
Good. If you look at things like baseball and basketball and you watch them lately, it just doesn't feel like it's a game. With all the distractions of COVID-19, racial equality, an election coming up, are you concerned about the season?
I think that when you say concerned about having a season, or
no, just can everybody avoid all the distractions and play like it's a regular season?
Well, I think that, you know, for us, Tom, I think, you know, Joe and his staff have done a great job of opening the lines of communication with the players and the staff. Okay? And, you know, there's been constant communication with all of us. And again, the blessing of being at the stadium, we can look at each other and say, hey, and how's your family, and do all that stuff. And I think I think part of it's about being a professional. Part of it's about respecting other people's opinions and attitudes. And I think it's you know, I think it can be done, you know, because of it all depends upon the atmosphere you have. And we've created an atmosphere of safety and openness. You know, I read a book a couple of years ago called The Culture Code, and they talk about one of the most important things, the most important thing you can do in an organization is for everybody to feel safe. It's very important that anybody in the organization can walk into my office and say, Gettleman, you knucklehead, and not worry about that I'm going to get upset about it. Not worry that I'm going to hold a grudge. You know what I'm saying? So that culture of safetiness has been created here. And guys are comfortable talking about things. And the other thing that you have to teach is you have to respect. You know, there's a great management concept. It's called seek to understand. Okay, I'm going to get philosophical here. Sometimes we don't listen to each other very well. And we, here in the Giants, we really work hard at that. Listen to what the other person is saying. You know, think about think about where they're coming from. Seek to understand. And if you understand each other, we can have those conversations, and there'll be conversations. You know, sometimes I think in today's world, the people think if I yell the loudest, I win. You know, it doesn't work that way. But, you know, Tom, you raise a hell of a point. You really do. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world right now, a ton of stuff. And I think that, you know, I like the way we've positioned ourselves and the culture and the type of people we have, that we can do this.